Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us over here in room B. I hope everybody get a chance to take a quick break and walk away from our computers for a minute. These fully Zoom days are exhausting, as you are very familiar. So I'm Shauna Crossan. I'm going to be moderating this session today, and I'm really excited to have Katie Rossman here with us to talk about Survey 123. Before we jump in, though, I'm going to just tell you a couple of things. I did turn on the live transcript. So at the bottom of your Zoom window, if you would like, you can turn on, it gives you the options to add some subtitles if that is helpful to you. So that's there. If you don't want it, you can turn it off. But just wanted to let you know that that's there. For some people, that's really a big help. I am recording this, and I'm going to, I'll do a spotlight on Katie, so she'll be the main focus. But just so you know that we are recording this, but I'll keep Katie as the main focus as the speaker. At any time that you have questions, pop them in the chat. We're a small group, so raise your hand, or just, I think, Katie, if you're okay, people can just
unmute
their mic and ask.
Yeah.
So we've got a small group. It's a great group. We can get deep into this. So at this point, I'm going to let Katie take it away.
All right. Well, hi. As Shauna said, I'm Katie Rossman. I work for Minnesota IT Services, and I am assigned at the DNR. Matt Wimbigler, who's one of our teachers that helps us organize this day, was originally going to teach this session, but because of COVID and lacking of substitutes, he was not able to attend, so I'm taking over for him. So for this session, we're going to learn about an example project that students can collect their own data, be analyzed using online maps. So we'll apply, the idea that we're going to do is signs of fall or autumn. So we're going to make a survey 123 from the very beginning, so logging in, all the way into sharing it as an interactive web app. So like I said, Matt was originally supposed to be teaching this, but he was unable to do so today, but he did make a video for us that I'm going to share. Actually, I need to stop sharing for a moment so that you guys can get the audio.
Hi, my name's Matt Wimbigler, and I teach science in Cloquet, Minnesota. I'd like to share a project with you that we did last spring, and this project had two primary goals. The first goal was during distance learning, we noticed students feeling really apart and isolated from their peers, and we wanted to bring them together somehow in something other than a discussion format. We wanted them to share ideas, including pictures and text, with one another from where they were within the community. The second goal was to make observations of spring and relate that back to plant and animal activity as well as to climate information. So in building this project, we ended up with this web app that was made that highlights the student photos and their descriptive writing. Each point on the map is a student observation that was created over about a 2-week period of time. And each point has different attributes tied to it, including the student's first name, the date and time of their observation, the observation type, and then their descriptive writing, which paints a picture of that observation in words. This web app was based on a map layer that was created. So in the map view, we can see that same information with the same attributes tied to it. Something that would be really fun to do would be to filter this table in order to maybe just sort it by, let's say, the observation type. Say the observation type is a bird. And then we could see information on the map only related to points having something to do with birds. To input that and create that layer in the first place, students used a survey 1, 2, 3 with a series of pretty simple questions in order to populate the map. And here you can see those same attribute fields represented on the survey that we saw on the final map and web app. To prepare students to take the survey, we had them complete some work on paper. This included digital paper to condense their ideas before actually posting to the survey. So they did a drawing or took a photograph and pasted it into here, and then started to work on their writing skills before entering it to the map. So we're really proud of this project, and I hope that it inspires an idea and way for you to bring your students together using maps.
Hello, my name is Matt Winbigler.
All right. So kind of as Matt said, you know, using survey 1, 2, 3, he was able to engage their students more, even though they were separated and in a digital format. But survey 1, 2, 3 can engage your students in the inquiry process and the analysis. They're not just looking at a predetermined set of data. They actually get to decide what questions they could ask, collect their own data, explore that data, and then analyze what can they determine out of it. So to get started, we're going to go right from the beginning to the login page. So if you're using the organizational account that was set up for today, that would be mde1.maps.arcgis.com. Then we're going to sign in and open survey 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to switch over to my internet if I click the right tab. Okay. I'm going to go to that, or if you're using your school's account that you already have set up, you can log in there too. I'm going to sign in. And now to open survey 1, 2, 3, you're going to go up right by where it has your name, and there's this little waffle icon. So we're going to click on that and select survey 1, 2, 3. So that's going to bring us right into the survey 1, 2, 3 platform. So for this, like I mentioned, in Matt's example, his students did signs of spring. We're in the fall now, so we're going to do a signs of fall. So we're going to hit create a new survey. And now we get this pop-up here as to how do we want to create the survey. We've got the option of using the web designer, which is really the quicker and, in my opinion, the easier way of doing it. Or you can use Survey 1, 2, 3 Connect, which is a separate desktop application. And instead of a like plug and play format, you create your survey through an Excel spreadsheet. Jim will be going over Survey 1, 2, 3 Connect in his session later today. So for us, we're going to use the web designer. So we'll click Get Started there. And then, so create a new survey. We need to give our survey a name. So this is going to be Signs of Autumn. We need to create some tags. So tags are like searchable keywords for your survey or your map or your data. All of the ArcGIS Online things have tags. So I'm going to tag this with Educator Day, and you can separate different tags with commas. Let's do Educator Day, just education, and what should we do? MNGISLIS. And then lastly, you'd want to put a summary of what this survey is. You know, what are we collecting? Who is it for? So you can be as brief or detailed as you want in this section. I'm just going to put survey to collect signs of fall. This was used for MN Educator Day 2020. So you get those 3 things created or filled out, and then we can hit the create button. Oh, I already have that because I did an example one for you. So mine's going to be Signs of Autumn 1. So it'll take just a couple seconds to actually create the new blank survey for us. So now we get here. We have this section right here is our survey form. And then over on the top, we have our different menus that we can do. And then on the side, we have our different options for designing our survey. So right now we're in the Add tab. So this is where we can add our questions. We have all of these different types of options for our questions. You can do like a single line text or a multi-line text where your students would just be typing in their answers. You can have single choice or multiple choice. So single choice is really they have options and get to choose one. Multiple choices, they can choose, you know, all that apply. It can be a number, it can be date and time. You can have them attach pictures, get the location from a map, all of these different things. So start putting some questions in here. The first thing we want to know is who's making this observation. So that's just going to be a single line text. I'm going to hit single line text. So now it switches over to the edit tab and gives us what information do we want in this question. So our label, let's change that to observer name. So you could put in a hint or a better description of how you want your students to fill this out. I'm pretty sure putting in your name is pretty self-explanatory. If you wanted a default value, you can enter that in here. For the validation, is this a required question? Yep, we want to make sure that they can't submit it without a name. And then if you wanted to do minimum or maximum character counts, you can fill those out. So I think we're good with observer name. And it's a required question. So we have our first question down. Our second question, and now I have to double check myself. Date and time. Next one we're going to do is a date and time. So what day was this observation, and then the time of day. So I'm going to click the date and time option. I'm going to change the label to say date and time. So for this one, if we put a little hint, date and time of your observation. So for date and time, you have 2 options. It can be the submitting date and time. So if you're having your students, you know, taking tablets or their mobile devices, you know, outside in the field, then you can do submitting date and time. It's going to collect the actual time when they hit the submit for their observation. Or if you were doing it similar to how Matt did, where he had his students filling out a separate form, and then going in and filling out the survey later, you can do a specified date and time. So then you can actually say what day, what time was this observed on. So let's do that one, a specified date and time. And again, we want to make this a required question. So we got 2 questions. Now if we go back up to add, this should be our, yes, our observation type. So we're going to do a single choice for this one. For this, we want to do our observation type. What do we characterize this as? Oops. So for our hint, we can say, pick a category that best represents your observation. And now we have these different choices that we can do. So you can just click right in here where it says choice 1, and we can change that. So let's make bird, change choice 2 to animal, change choice 3 to plant, and then you have the option to allow other types. So a student can click the other option and then type in what type of observation they think fits best. So we can say, yep, let's allow other. So for these multiple choice type questions, you have options for the appearance, so how it fits on their screen. Perfectly fine to leave it the way it is. It's all just a matter of design and personal preference. I'm just going to switch that to horizontal so it doesn't take up so much space on my screen. And again, we want to make this a required question. All right, our next question is we want to get a photograph. We're going to go back to the add button, and now we're going to click on image. So for images, they have a maximum size of 10 megabytes. That should be easy. Shouldn't have too many people uploading photos that are larger than 10 megabytes. So for this label, we'll just say this is photograph. So we're going to take a clear picture of your observation. Again, we want this to be a required question, so they need to have some type of picture in here. And then you can say, how many pictures do you want them to take? Do we want just 1? Do we want 2 pictures of it? Depending on your survey, you can change that. So for this, we'll just leave it at 1. Okay. We're going to add our 5th question. And for this one, we want a description of the observation. So a longer verbal description of what they're seeing. So this time we're going to choose multi-line text. So this is going to be observation description. What do I say for that one? So use your words. To paint a picture of your observation. Again, we want this to be a required question. And if you did want to limit it at, you know, a minimum number of characters. So if you didn't want them to just say you know, it's a squirrel. Okay, you can make that be a minimum number of characters to be like, they need to use at least 25 characters to describe that. Okay. Then our last question is the location. So we can get a location point for this observation. So again, we're going to hit add, and this time we're going to choose the map. Change the label to be location. And then for our hint, just to give a little bit of instruction on how to use this map. So we can say, use your fingers or the tools to place the pin at the location of your observation. So for this one, we just want the location point. We're going to leave it at point. So the default extent of your map is the whole world, but we can use these tools to zoom it in and bring it to Minnesota. So we're already more focused on the area we're looking at. You have the option to ask for the device's location automatically. So if you have people, if you have your students using, you know, their tablets taking live collections, that would be a good option to do. And again, we want this to be a required question. So these are our 6 questions that we're going to do. Let's make sure we save this because we've got our questions. We don't want to lose anything. So we hit the save button down here along the bottom. So we've got the basics of our survey built. We can explore some of these other tabs in our menus here. So if I go over to the appearance button, you can change how your survey looks. So there are some preset different color schemes if you don't want it to be the default green. You know, this is signs of autumn. So I'm going to choose the nice red color. If you wanted to get really fancy, they have some where you can have a photo background and you can edit the theme to customize it. Maybe you want your school logo in the background. So I'm just going to do the dark red color. Then I can hit preview and see how this is going to look on a device. So again, it takes a second to create that preview for us. So if I was a student collecting the survey, this is what I would see. They've got the option. So this would be what it would look like in a computer web browser. You can see what it would look like on a smartphone or what it would look like on a tablet. It's just a preview. Make sure everything looks right, worded right. Check your spelling. Okay. And then the last step for creating our survey is now we need to publish this survey. So right now we've just designed it. It's only available for us. We want to publish so we can get it out there. We can start collecting our data. So I'm going to hit the publish button. It gives us this pop-up that we can set unique identifiers or look at the schema. So we can look at it. This is how the data would be collected in the table. Since we're doing a fairly simple survey, I'm not going to worry about unique identifiers for this one. So that's fine. I'm going to hit publish and it will start putting together our survey. Did we have any questions or did I go too fast in that part?
No questions in the chat. Feel free to jump in and ask questions or post them in the chat as we go.
Yep. All right. So our survey has been created now. It's been published. So now that it's published, we can go over to this collaborate button. And this is where we set the sharing settings for our survey. So sharing right now, it is only available to you as an individual user. So who can submit this? Who can submit to the survey? Do we want this open to everyone in the public? Whether they have a ArcGIS online account or not, that would be everyone. Do we only want members of our organization? So for today, it's members of the Educator Day group or the Educator Day organization. If you're using your school account, it would be members in your school organization. Or you can limit it even further to members in a group. So say you just want it open to students in your classroom. You can create a group for your classroom. So the survey and the results can be shared just within that group. I'm going to do this one for everyone, just because this is an example, and I know I'm going to delete it fairly soon. What can submitters do? So you could limit it that they could only add new records. They wouldn't be able to change any records. So the other one would be add and update, or add, update, and delete. So depending on your survey, you may want to change those options. You can have it in draft mode. So if they started entering something and forgot to hit submit, it would save a draft. You can allow multiple submissions per user. So in this case, we probably want multiple submissions per person, or you can limit it to one submission per student. And then is our survey open, closed, or we can schedule a certain time window for that survey to be open. So let's leave that at open and sharing to everyone. Then we can go to the share results. So who can view the results of the survey? So again, we have those, everyone, members of your organization, or only members of a group. I'm going to do everyone for this particular one. And we're going to hit save. Oh, and I think I forgot to hit save on our survey. Yeah. All right, so we have our two sharing options. All right, so I built in a little break for us to go and collect some data. We can do that right now if you want, or I have a sample set of data already set up for us to use. So I'm going to leave that option up to you guys. You want to take a break and run outside and collect a data point?
We have about 20 minutes, but I love the idea of getting people out to check the data.
Yeah, because if we're gonna go through the steps of analyzing, we need at least 1 point.
I vote for collecting data.
All right. Well, yeah, let's give you guys a couple minutes and you can go and collect some data, or you can, steal a picture from online like I did in the sample data set and make fake locations, because this is just for examples.
Katie, can you post the link to this in the chat?
Yes, I can. No, give me a new tab. Content. Actually, you should have the survey in, if you go to My Surveys, you should have one that says Signs of Autumn Survey. And that should already have some results in it. Is that showing up?
I don't know if everybody's logged into that space because not everybody's using the MDE logins.
Okay.
I'm just thinking grab the link off the share setting.
Yeah.
And put that one in.
Share. Yep.
Except that one's only open to.
Oh, I want results.
That's private. No, it's private though. The share survey was private.
Save. I did save.
I hate that part.
No, you really love it because it gives you those powers exactly what you want.
Fine, Charlie, but I always forget.
Or I swear I shared those yesterday when I was putting this together.
Or I always click the share to everyone and then I forget to save. And So Molly, I'm just going to ask your question, or Miranda, I think asked this question. I'm going to ask your question publicly about how to get it from your phones and upload it to the survey. So Katie, can you talk about how someone would go take a picture and then upload it to the survey?
Yep. So if you were on your phone, if you had the survey link, you can put that in your phone's web browser and it'll open up the survey that way.
Katie, could you just click on the share thing at the far right and then the QR code will be there and people can use the QR code just to get
that'll
there.
Work too. Yep.
So if you take your phone, your camera of your phone and just hold it in front of that QR code, it'll should pull the survey up on your phone and then you can fill it out right from there. Yes, in terms of students who don't have data, if students are doing this, they need to put the picture onto their computer.
Yeah, if you're going...
or can do it once they get back inside and just go outside, take the picture.
Yep.
And then upload it once they get back inside.
So I just opened up the survey as if I was a student entering steps. So I can, and this would be similar to on your smartphone or tablet. You can either use your camera to take a picture. So it opens. No, it doesn't want to work through Zoom right now.
It might not because of Zoom, yeah.
Or you can do select an image. So you could go through, if you're on your phone, it would be like your photos library or any image file you have saved on your computer. So like I had a folder of all the sample pictures I used, so.
Katie, do you want to, Billy's asking a question about
yeah.
if they come back inside.
So there's a way to geolocate. Well, you can, go back into that tab, go away. So in the map, they can, navigate if they knew they were, at their house, they can type in their address and find it, or you can like manually zoom around the map if you wanted to only be using the Survey 123 tools. What could be another way of getting the location? If you wanted to incorporate using a separate handheld GPS to be adding another skill into this project. Say they have their GPS and on a paper form or something like that, they could write down their location, the latitude and longitude, and enter that into the map. I think Matt had that information in the paper form that he used for his class.
Yeah, Matt, I know Matt has done this exercise and not had students upload. They do it on paper at home and then they come into school and upload the information.
Mm-hmm.
So they've definitely done it that way.
Did
Does that
answer-
help, Billy?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, that helps. I was just trying to figure out a way where students, so we have this activity where they take data in the field, and we kind of wanted them to take a picture and then upload it straight from there. But I think it's just something to be cognizant for next year that doesn't always work. Sometimes it does work where they can actually take a picture and it all works great. But then we were noticing maybe like 1 out of every 3 or 4, it wasn't working so well. So I think we'll just say, well, we'll come back and insert the data in class, and then you'll have to kind of use the map features to get you, because they take a picture, they're looking at specific trees, so it could be a little bit trickier for them to find that exactly geolocated. But I mean, I think we can make that work, so thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah. And actually I was just thinking, you know, if your students have smartphones, I know lots of kids do these days, and depending on the settings that they have on their phone, sometimes the phone is collecting those GPS coordinates attached to the picture. So if you were to, I'm just going to switch to my desktop. And it's over here. So if you look at the properties of a picture, in the details, sometimes it has the coordinates in there if their photo was taken the geolocation. So that might be another option to help too.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think I put this in the chat, but one of the other things that we've run into is that when students take that picture, it will like delete their responses to the other questions. And we're just wondering if anybody else has run into that. So when they try to put their image in, it just wipes everything away. And it's just, we can't figure out why. It doesn't seem to be, it happens on both Android and Apple phones. And anybody's seen that?
So you're saying students have entered data and then they take the picture and then the data that they've entered has disappeared.
Yep, exactly.
Charlie?
Yeah.
So
I always ask Charlie when there's trouble.
There is data that has been entered, and then afterwards you're trying to attach an image to an individual feature that already exists. You're trying to add an image to it, and that's when data disappears.
Yeah, I mean, like if we're looking at the signs of autumn, they would have filled in their name, the date and time, the type, but when they go to select an image file or take a picture, it will wipe away anything that they've entered in those other fields.
Interesting.
Well, that wasn't happening on this one because I was doing it last night. So I know it works on this one.
Well, it works for lots of it works for probably 2/3 of our students. It's really about 1 out of 3 or maybe even a little less.
One of my colleagues is listening in and may have something to add to that, but keep going with what you're working on.
Yeah.
I'm Charlie's colleague. Hi, I'm Kylie. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. Just to fill into that, I haven't seen it or heard of that, but if you want to email me, my email is my first initial K and then last name Donia, DONIA @esri.com. I'd be happy to find someone to help you look at that.
Thank you so much. We will definitely send an email.
And then Jim put in a question, what kind of wait time should be expected to load the map in the map locator on a smartphone? Or is the photo load feature an influence in the map feature? I think that would depend on what kind of internet connectivity you have on your phone. So if you're connected to a Wi-Fi network, it should be pretty instant, but if you're using cellular data with only a couple of bars, it might take a little bit.
And Jim, there are options, other options to use if people are going to be out in the field and not have access to internet. There's different tools that they can use.
Yeah, you can go and set it for what they call offline editing, but we're not going to go into that today.
Kylie, did I get your email address right?
Yes, you did.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, trying to find the chat. Yep.
Okay. So I'm hoping you guys have collected your data, or we're going to use the example one that I put in here. So if you go to the data tab, you can see we have a map of the points that have been collected. So you've got Megan all the way down here in Florida.
Yay, Megan, for providing some diversity to our map.
And then we've got the rest of our points. And then we can also see a table of our data. So if you wanted to look at it in a more Excel format, we can do that. So we've got this. Let's open it up in the map viewer. So we're going to click open in the map viewer. It's going to bring up a kind of pop-up window for us. And now we can start to customize what our map looks like. So from Survey 123, it names our data, this just gibberish survey. So if we click on these three little dots right next to it, we can go and rename that layer. I'm just going to change that to Signs of Autumn and click OK, and it changes that for you. We can also change the symbol. So the third icon over when you hover your mouse by Signs of Autumn is a symbology tab. So, or change the style. So we could have it be showing location only, puts the same type of point, same color for all of our observations. Or we could say, let's make different colored points for our different observation types. And then we can click the options here. So plant, if we click right on that symbol, well, let's make the plant green. Animal, bird, let's make the bird orange. So you can, change those symbols that way. And then say, okay, and done. So now it's also changed our points in the map. You could do what Matt mentioned in his video and put a filter on there. So if you only wanted to see the birds or only the animals or only the plants, you can do a filter on that as well. So I'm going to say this looks good for our purposes today. And I'm going to hit save and do a save as. So again, we need to add a title and tags to this map. I'm going to say Signs of Autumn, if I spell autumn right, web map. And I'm going to give it the same tags I used for my survey. So education, educator day, and then I think I had MNGIS LAS, yeah. So then you could add well, you should add a summary to your map, but it's not required. So we're just gonna do save map. All right, so we've got our web map saved. Now, a really easy way to bring this into a web app, similar to the one that Matt used, is if we hit this share button. So again, we want to I'm going to share my map with everyone. And then I'm going to create a web app. So there's lots of different templates already pretty much set up for you to use as web apps or story maps. So for this one, I'm going to do the attachment viewer. So it'll give us a nice big thumbnail of our photo and then our points on the map as well. So I'm going to select that one. Yep, create my web map or web app. I'm going to change the name of this to be a web application. And in a minute here, it will create our web app. Hopefully, don't break on me. There we go. So this is a new app page. So it has some instructions for you. So you can go through next and read some of those instructions on how the app works. So this looks a little different than what we might be imagining, but let's go through the setup steps. So if we click on step 1, the map, we want our Science of Autumn web map. That's what we want to do. Yep, that's our map. So if we hit next, the about, so you can change the name if you want to have an introduction panel, so information about your app as a pop-up. You can do a custom introduction panel. And then there's the option of if you want a legend in your map. So we changed the points to be different colors on observation type. We want the viewers of this app to know what those different colors stand for. So we're going to turn the legend on. We're going to go next to step 3. So here we can pick the app layout. So right now this is attachment focused. So the big side is our observation photo and the small side is our map. Well, let's click that and change it to map focused. So now our map is taking up more of our screen and we just have a smaller thumbnail of the photo. Change it to map focused. We can change the color and the text color of our application. So like if I click on this blue, I want to make it be that same dark red that I used in my survey to make them coordinate. Totally optional. You don't have to do this. So I've changed that.
I'm just going to give you a heads up that we are at 10:20. So
okay, all right. Well, we are like 3 steps away. So gonna hit next. The search window. Do we want that option so folks can, type in a city or an address? Yep, we want that. We have the preview options again down here on the bottom. And we can hit publish. Yes, I'm sure I want to publish. And so now it gives you a link to your application. You can open up that link. And of course, it's hidden by my bar. Or hit launch. There we go. And so in an hour, we've created a Survey 123, we've created a web map, and we've created a web app. Congratulations, guys.
Are there any quick questions? I have not played with this attachment viewer, so I am excited to do that. Any other questions? Everyone have ideas of what you can do? So what do teachers do with the data and the map after it's collected? I think there's a lot of good ideas with that. Anybody done this or want to share ideas, lessons ideas? I'll tell you one of the things we do with Survey 123 data like this is we turn them into story maps, and I can talk about that in my next session. I've also worked with instructor faculty who have done Survey 123, extensive Survey 123 throughout their class, and it becomes part of the course material. This is at the higher ed level. and they've actually used it for finals, and students have to interpret the geographic. They get access to the maps, they can manipulate the maps, and the students really dig deep into the patterns and relationships that the surveys show. I think Matt has a lot of other good ideas as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I should put the
Sarah's
links.
ideas. Yes, perfect. Sarah, do you want to?
Did have some links to some of the content that he has used before. So he has they did a survey on snowmelt and water quality. I can put these in the chat here. So he had a story map, and did he have I think he had the lesson with this too. Is that linked in here? Yes, okay, so yeah, at the bottom, it has the instructor guide and presentation slides for you. So again, since he wasn't able to be here today, he gave me some material.
We will include that information on these recordings when they're posted. So if any of this information from the chat will also be added. I am going to call time just because we need to take a break between sessions. So you have now 7 minutes until the next session. This room will stay open, and I'm going to be talking about story maps. And in room A, I believe Charlie will be talking about dashboards, which would be a great way to take Survey 123 data to the next step. So thanks so much for joining us today.
Yep. And I will put my email in the chat here as well. I am signed up as a GeoMentor if anybody does want some help with using story maps, any ArcGIS Online in their classroom. I'm willing to help.
Thank you.